Okay, I see it's 10:25, so we'll go ahead and get started. I am recording this session, and we're going to start with a quick bio for Devlin Daley, who's about to be the speaker for our session here today. So Devlin, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio, and then I'll punt to you to get started. Before founding Derivita, Devlin was co-founder of Instructure and co-creator of the Canvas LMS. He started Instructure while in graduate school at BYU, and in 2015, the company went public. Canvas remains the fastest growing LMS and is one of the world's top 50 largest websites. In 2017, after visiting hundreds of schools and seeing the problems teachers and students were encountering with their math homework software, Devlin started Derivita with a mission of making math education more accessible for all learners. Devlin has 5 kids and spends his free time trying to help his wife stay sane when he's not on a scout camp out with one of his 4 boys. He's mastered #dad jokes and has recently been adding #math jokes. Devlin, take it away.
Thank you, thank you. I always feel like I have to say a joke after that. So I just learned a new one, okay, ready? Why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Okay, yeah, I got it. No, why did 7 eat 9? That's the new one. Why did 7 eat 9? Well, because you need 3 squared meals a day. All right. That was worth it. Come on, that was worth it. All right, cool. So this presentation, a lot of you have heard about Derivita. We've been at Arismatic before. We actually have been collaborating with a lot of schools here. And so this session is to give an update where we are. It may have been a little bit since everyone has seen it. So this is kind of like the little bit behind the scenes. We're gonna go under the hood a little bit. We're gonna show some features that are in beta that aren't released to everyone yet, so you can kind of see what we've been up to. All right, but now I want to say, like, the premise of this is because we're very collaborative, is that we're not just creating a product and saying that it's the best. Well, we are saying it's the best, but we're saying, like, it's not perfect, that it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be improved on. And we actually use the usage of teachers to figure out what we should be building next, right? So everything I'm going to talk about it was in response to something that was needed, right? And we're being responsive to that, right? So yeah, thinking of, it's not a static product, it hasn't changed in 5 years. You're going to see that we're making a lot of progress with it. Okay, so I wanted to review for some of you new folks about stuff that Derivita already does. Okay, so we feel that we're a tool. We're a tool for the teachers. The teacher is the most important asset that a student has in a classroom, right? And so everything that we're trying to do here is in support of the teacher. I think that needs to be very clear. Okay, so some unique things about Derivita is our bread and butter is to ask open-ended questions that can still be auto-graded. So, right, it's a better experience for the students, for this formative assessment, that they're learning the material, they're able to try it, test it out, make some mistakes, but then keep going until they get it. Okay, and so, like in this example here, yeah, it's open-ended. It's not a multiple choice. It's not a matching or anything like that, but it's still being auto-graded, and then it randomizes so that students can do a mastery-based model where they can try different problems. Even after they get it correct, they can try new ones, right? A lot of multiple attempts. And then this example of where we do dynamic work solutions. So this is a dynamic question. It does randomize, but the work solution is for the exact problem that we're working on. If they try it again, they'll get a completely different question and a completely different dynamic solution with it. All right. We have a very powerful computer algebra system because we can actually evaluate the student's work and its mathematical properties. So in this case, I'm showing a little screenshot here where we're actually taking the derivative of the student's answer. So it depends on what they put in is what the feedback we give. This is an example of dynamic feedback. This is not static feedback at all. To give, basically what the students need while they're trying to learn. Okay. Because of that, then we can be less frustrating for students when you're doing something mathematically valid. So in this case, I'm showing here, a sequence in a series that in all these different ways that can be written, they're all equivalent. Our system is able to detect that they are equivalent, right? And not just, the one answer that we're looking for. Does it have the correct mathematical properties of it? Right. This is, as well known, like as we've gone through, like that's the most frustrating thing as a student, right? You do it right, you put it in, it says it's wrong, okay? Now, looking at Laura, and she's nodding, right? But okay, so this is another part about Derivita is that some of our questions, like we might not get it right the first time, but we iterate on them. So Laura's been fantastic. She'll say, this question should really accept this answer. And she can pipe here anytime she wants. But we go in and we update the questions. This isn't something that we do here. Laura?
Yeah, is my microphone working? Yeah, so actually the derivative support has been amazing, particularly with Calc 3 because I'm piloting the questions that they have already. And there have been some questions where I'm like, well, yeah, that's an answer, but that's not like the standard answer that we typically look for. And so in contacting support, they usually get back to me within 24 hours. They've upgraded the problem. And if there's similar problems, they'll go take a peek at them and make sure that those changes are cascaded into the other questions. So yeah, I would echo what Devlin is saying.
Thanks, Laura, very, very much. And I think it's good for teachers, and it's also good for us. It makes our content even better, and it's that that iteration and always improving on it, and so we've got tools to do that. Thanks so much. This is just showing some other examples of some of the dynamic feedback that's possible. Here I'm using the student's answer to do a substitution strategy to show them like a table of if they plugged in numbers into their function. This is, yeah, it's pretty, okay, so this is just reviewing what we already do today, okay, if you're unfamiliar with it. All right, so this is, since actually we haven't been to Arithmetic since I think last year or earlier, right? So we wanted to make sure that we talk about some of the things that were new since then, right? So some of this will be like what Laura's already seen. I want to make sure that you can see this. Is that video playing okay? Excellent. Okay, so this is where I'm looking at every assignment. I can actually get a detailed overview of which questions the students are doing well on, which ones maybe they struggled with, and then I can drill into the questions. And I can do that even like in class, face-to-face on a podium computer, or I can just share my screen as well, like in a Zoom environment online, right? So I can assign homework, and then I get that feedback loop on the next time, like, okay, this is what the class did well, this is what we should cover again, and very simply cover that, right, in a demo, right, in the dashboard of the assignment. So it's not just, I think they're doing okay, it's you actually know how they're doing with it and then can follow up with it, okay? So we can work things together online, and then of course we have a lot of questions, and then they can be aligned with any textbook. So whatever the textbook is that you're using, you can use it with it. All right. Okay, I've been talking a lot. I want to pause, any questions? You guys can always hit the chat or anything like that. But any questions for the group right now? All right, I'll continue on here. All right. Wanted to make sure that this is a feature that is a big deal, but it's not well known. So we gotta get the word out, I guess, is that with our question banks, you can not only create the dynamic assignments that students complete online, but you can also use those exact same questions to generate paper assignments. And with equity and not all students having access to computers and whatnot, this is an important thing that has been needed. Right? So on any assignment that is created, you can just go to that assignment and you say print, it will make a version of it, and you can change the randomization. You can make as many of these printed assignments as you would like. They are formatted appropriately that you could literally hand them out in class. and then you check another box with ours, and it will produce a second version of that printed assignment with the answer key already in it, because we do know how to grade all the questions already. Okay, so just you know, a lot of the day-to-day things, very simple. And of course, we work anywhere, anytime, anywhere, on any device. Okay, whether that be mobile, tablets, PCs, desktops, or laptops. All right, so this is just, there was a quick view of like, just remind you like, this is what Derivita kind of does, so that we can talk about new stuff. Okay, all right, let's dig in, okay? So just kind of echoing what we were talking about with Laura before, is that there's content and then there's Derivita content, because our content it's dynamic and it's iterative, and we take, you know, feedback of what's needed from teachers, and we're always improving it and adding feedback, adding helps to the students and everything like that. And also we've increased tremendously the amount of content. So yeah, so it's kind of like this. All right. So we have increased, we actually have been working with a lot of high schools recently. And so we have content starting at high school algebra 1 and have content going all the way through calculus 3 still. Okay. So basically is likely any course that you're teaching, we have content around it. Okay. And we can work with that. Okay. We've created in response to what was needed was new assessment modalities. So what I mean by that is that we focused on this really difficult part of formative assessment, you know, mastery-based, so students can just keep going till they get it. And then, but, you know, especially with COVID, is that there was more demand for things that we needed to do around exams and quizzes. So higher stakes assessments. And so we did, we're responding to that feedback. So I hope you see that this is the pattern is we work on things, we're collaborative, we get this feedback, and then we build stuff that's actually needed. Okay, so this might, so this is around higher stakes assessments. Okay, so now Derivita assignment types can come in 3 different modes. So homework is what we've always had, which is mastery based. Students get feedback on every question attempt. And then we show dynamic solutions when they've exhausted those. Quizzes are a little bit higher stakes, but similar to a homework in that you get feedback as you go, but you can limit the number of attempts, number of randomizations that they get. You can even put timers on them. So it's a little higher stakes, but it still has that modality of I do a question, I can check it, I get feedback immediately if I got it right or not, right? And then you can choose whether or not you want to show the solution or not, right? So that's a higher stakes. And then the high stakes mode is exams, okay? Which is for, basically it is for pure summative assessment. Okay, so breaking this down, and Derivita exam now is it's one and done like a in-person exam. Is you give the exam to the students, they do all the questions, they get no feedback, they're doing right or wrong. The only feedback they get is as they're putting in answers that we're understanding what their answers are. So we still do this live preview of student answers, we typeset them, but we don't say if they're correct or not. And then they submit all of them at one time, like I turned in the entire exam. Okay, there's a few tools for the students while they're in the exam, like they can mark which questions they want to come back to, which ones they think that they're, you know, and it's just for the student, right? Like, I think I'm done with this one, I want to come back to that. They can flag questions to come back. And then we've added timers onto the exams. Of course, we're already picking up the due dates from Canvas and your LMS and accommodations, right? So at the end, when the students turn in their exam, we grade it in one shot, and then we just show them a summary of it. They're not allowed to review any of the questions after they've turned it in. So you can still secure your exam and keep that. All right. And let me actually, I'll talk about accommodations, since as soon as you talk about, you know, higher stakes assessment, then, you know, we need to talk about accommodations for students. So this is what we've done. Okay, so again, it's based off of what people needed. So we actually make our time limit overrides apply to all time limits across the entire course in Derivita. So you just go find the student that has launched any Derivita assignment in the course, and then you can set a multiplier on the amount of time that they get, just like you would get from your accommodations office at your campus. So you can set it at, they get 2x the time, 1.5 times, or you can even set a custom multiplier if you'd like. And then you set that, and it will apply to all of our time. So if you have a timed quiz, it will automatically apply to it. If you have, another exam later in the course, it will automatically apply to that timer. And then with the student on their instructions page, when they go to start the exam, is we tell them how much time that they have, and also that they know that that adjustment has been applied. So they're not asking you about it, that they can verify that the accommodation has been made in the course, right? And see that every time. All right. All right, let's stop here. That was so that's a new thing. Exams, quizzes, in addition to our mastery based in homeworks. Any questions on that? Anyone excited about that? You can give a thumbs up or a yes, or I'm sleeping, Devlin, stop talking. All right, I will note one thing here. I didn't do, oh, here's a question. Can Derivita read to students? So we don't read directly to it, but we work, we're fully accessible so that their screen reader can. Okay. Yeah. And one thing I just wanted to, other things that, too, is like the timer, it's okay, the timer's cool because let's say that you have a due date for an, for a quiz or an exam, and it's due at, 2 o'clock. Well, if the student goes to that assignment, it goes to start the exam, and it's within an hour of when it's due, then we'll automatically show a timer for them just to remind them that the due date is in an hour. Okay. And then the timer, if they click on it, there's actually 3 modes to work around test anxiety. Okay, so the default is it has a nice graphic that's gonna, kind of slowly count down, and then it has a counter on it as well. It says, this is how many minutes, how many seconds you have, and it counts down. Okay, so if they actually just click on the timer, it changes it to the graphic, and then instead of the seconds, it goes to just the minutes, so it's less stressful, right? So you don't just see it just tick, 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 right? It'll just say like 34 minutes, 31 minutes, and it just slowly counts down, so it's less stressful. But if they click it again, it'll go to just the graphical part. That just gives them like, yep, you're halfway through, you're, just as a graphical little clock on there. And then if they just keep clicking, it just cycles back through those 3 modes of it. Because yeah, test anxiety, it's a real thing, right? And so they can, little things that can help with it that are important. All right, fantastical. All right, another new thing we've been working on is around lockdown and proctoring. So this goes hand in hand with higher stakes assessment and remote assessment that we've been working with. So, okay, so just to review, test security here, to back up a little bit, is that there is no one size fits all. Like there is no silver bullet of like, if you do this, then your test is now secure. And a lot of things depends on the context and the needs of your students and what you're comfortable with and what you want to do. Okay, so anything that we say in this section here about test security is that our role here is to give you options to get something that will work for you. Okay, so there is the one is like in person is like, you proctor a test and you don't let the test out of your classroom. you know, and then no one can copy it and share it with others for a later class or things like that, or the next semester. And so that would be analogous to like lockdown and proctoring. But then, you know, other folks is like, well, you should work on your course design, because if you change your course design, maybe have, instead of like this one high stakes assessment, you have a bunch of little ones. So there's a bunch of tactics to do this. And what we've done is we have given you all of these tools to do it. Okay. And so this is just giving you flexibility. You don't have to use any of these features, but if it's appropriate, then it's well integrated. It's going to work really well for you. And if you don't need it, then one of the other things will. So the first one is, you know, randomizations. Every student gets a different version of the exam. They get a different version of each question, right? And then if you want to do something around course design, like, you know, break it up into smaller, lower stakes assessments and just have more frequent ones of them, then that's what we do. Like, this is our bread and butter. Okay. So randomizations, making more assessments, and the ones that you like, we do that. And then you can take a step up from that of maybe we put a time limit on an exam that's only available within a certain time frame. We support all of those. Maybe even with the time frame, they can only take it from these hours on this day. And to enforce that, you can even use a password to do it. Like, they have to be in a certain place. They can use this, you know, in an actual proctoring environment, and then like lockdown and remote proctoring. Okay, so so lockdown is that we have we've actually partnered with Proctorio, and this is available on all Derivita assessments now. Is lockdown. I put a screenshot here on the left. On every assignment, you can actually just put a slider to say enable lockdown, and you can choose which options you feel are most appropriate for this lockdown. And then you save it, and that is all the work that you have to do to use a lockdown browser. It's just so seamlessly integrated with it. Okay, and it's available to all of our customers free of charge. So as a little bit of a, I guess, to define what that is lockdown is it's a technology only, right? There is no proctor, there's no AI proctor. This is just a technology that limits which applications can be running on a student's computer while they're taking a quiz or an exam, right? And so you can limit it, or you can say, like, if they are running something else, it just automatically completes the exam to do it. Okay, it's a Google Chrome extension. It takes literally like 60 seconds to install it. So you can just turn it on. Your students will click on it. We'll tell them everything that they need to do, and it will take them maybe 60 seconds longer to get into a quiz or an exam. That's how seamless that is, right? And then now with that, we've also partnered with proctoring companies. So while we're not providing proctoring, if your school has a proctoring solution, then we integrate with your school's proctoring solution. Okay, and then that is actually just as seamless as the lockdown browser after it's been set up and you let us know about it. And you can just, on the options, you can say, in addition to the lockdown settings, you can say what your proctoring settings are. Like, you know, with a remote proctor, if you know, it's an AI proctor, if you want them to do ID verification, if you want to record the video, and then it'll flag it, and that's fully integrated, so you can get the report of that as you go. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause right there because any questions? Or Charles, I saw there was a bit going on in the chat. Anything I need to chat about?
So Devlin, there's a good question from Cole. She says, if every student gets a different version of every question, this seems very difficult to grade. How does Derivita expect an instructor to grade? Is it just auto-graded as all correct or entirely incorrect?
Okay, good question. So Derivita is primarily a automated assessment engine, so it will do all of the grading for you. And with that is our engine is much more capable than anything you've ever used, because we can assign no points, we can assign full points, and we can also automatically assign partial credit as well. Okay, so like, for instance, if you want a question where they're doing integration, and they get the equation right, we can say that's partial credit. If they add the constant of integration, then they get full credit, right? Like that's very, very simple for us to do. And so yeah, that is, the whole system is that every student can have a separate type of question and still be auto-assessed even with partial credit on the Derivita engine. Does that answer your question?
It kind of does. I feel like I'd have to still look at, I mean, I like to see their scratch paper. So we usually, when a student takes an exam, we also collect their scratch paper. They've taken a picture of it or scanned it or whatever for us. And I like to see some of the steps because sometimes it was a simple error that led them to an incorrect solution. So I just feel like that would not take that into account very, very well. I don't know. I haven't used it, so I haven't used this system. So
yeah, Laura, did you have a comment on that, or is it a separate?
I do. So, this semester's been crazy, and I was giving my first Calc 1 midterm last week. And so as part of the midterm was administered in Derivita. And I just let them know up front that Derivita would auto-grade all of the questions. And then I had a separate assignment in Canvas where the students then took images. So I told them they had to provide the work. And then I would go through their work and compare to what was in Derivita, and either if they got, so I told them that a correct answer was only half a point. So if they got it right and there was no evidence that they did the work, then I would actually dock them, which I fortunately did not have to do. But then I told them if they got it wrong, I would look at their work and then give them partial credit back, because you can override the score. So I can override any score Derivita gives. So I think the test was 20 questions, took most students about an hour and 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, I've said I'm going to do this. How long is this going to take me? And I was kind of surprised. It actually went faster than if I had done a paper pencil test. Usually that'll take me 4 to 5 hours to grade. I think I only spent about 2 hours comparing the student work to what they submitted. And sometimes they had the correct answer on their paper and they typed the answer incorrectly into Derivita. So then I was just easily able to override that score and give them full credit. So that was my solution anyway.
All right, thanks, Laura.
thank you.
Yeah, I think Coley I think the thing I really like about Laura's response there is that while Derivita is really capable, it is one of the tools that is available to you. And we've made that very deliberate. It's like, we don't want to control your whole course, is that we're just one of the tools to do it, with a very large, high quality question bank and, this automated assessment thing. But ultimately, like, you're still in control of everything. Whereas, you can look at, Derivita almost like a TA grader. Like, we went through and we graded and we put something there, but then as a teacher, you can go and review it and override it and combine it with another data source, where she used another assignment in Canvas to collect student work and then to compare it and whatnot. So I think that's a little bit of a mental shift, in that we actually think that that's a great thing, that we're just one of the tools in your tool belt, right? And open and flexible so that it can work with all of them. All right, so, and then I guess, Laura, I'd like to chat with you later, because I might be working on something about showing work and capturing that in Derivita to make that simpler. So I think that's great. Again, like, this is how we build stuff, right? Let's solve some real problems, right? Okay, so talking about solving problems, there is some parts here in, like, this is when we get into Calc 2 and 3, then the questions in typical assessment systems are kind of slow down because they can't do 3D graphing. Okay, so we actually created our own 3D graphing framework because ours will work on any device and it doesn't require a plugin at all. So this is an example actually of our renderer, and it runs on your phone, it'll run on your desktop and on your tablet. And it's fully interactive, and we can incorporate those seamlessly into our questions. Okay, so that was a lot of work. It was so worth it. Okay, because it kind of completes the last thing that really, you know, in the calculus series that was needed. That was like super hard but super needed, right? So now, you know, in calculus, it's like it's kind of awesome. Okay. You know, because now we have this large, aligned, you know, high quality question bank with any book that you want. We have this computer algebra system that can evaluate sequences in series, not ask like multiple choice scaffolded questions. We can actually just ask for open-ended questions, still auto-grade them. Combine that with our 3D graphing, that dynamic feedback with it is, there is no better platform to teach calculus with than Derivita. There is actually a session right after this here at Arismatic called Teaching Calculus Online with Derivita, and that'll start at 11:15. So just a plug to catch that one out, and they'll talk some more about this, some of the other specifics that make you know, Derivita a uniquely good solution for teaching calculus. All right, and then I just wanted to put some other plugs in here, is that we've been expanding all sorts of stuff too, and being able to do more math types. So here's an example of, can you guys see my cursor when I move it? I guess I should have checked that when I'm pointing to stuff. Okay, good. All right, we made it even easier to accept matrices from students. We've given the ability to actually customize the toolbar on a per question basis. So here's just two examples of a matrix, you know, and a custom toolbar with it. And then we even have an odds, which was needed for some quantitative reasoning courses. It's not a fraction, but it's, yeah, like an odds to go with it. Okay, and this is just a couple of examples. We've added quite a few others as well to the system as we're doing more interesting content. All right. I'm just going to talk about assignment assembly and how you can create your assignments. And I'm going to wait and kind of show you in the demo in a minute, okay? But this is, assignment assembly is basically, right now is that, you know, we work with you in our content team to put assignments together. We, you know, change questions to what you need to be. But this is one that you can do a lot of this on your own now. So that's one of the big features I wanted to demo today. All right. And so, okay, placeholder pin on that until we get to the demo. And then I wanted to talk about the next part of the demo, which is Derivita SpotCheck. All right. So when we're talking with a lot of our collaborators, right, our schools and teachers, is that one of the biggest challenges they have is engagement with students, especially engagement at a distance and online. All right. And so we've been putting our thinking caps on about how to do this well, and what we could do to help. And what we've come up with is what we call SpotCheck, or spot checking the student's knowledge of it. Okay. So while it's difficult to assess students in a synchronous online class, especially in math, right, to have students do math while we're at computers, right, to see what they understand, see what they don't, is what I'm explaining. Do they get it? Do they not get it? Right. And then, of course, unique things to remote teaching. Students might be in the room with their camera off, their microphone off. It's like, are they there? Are they not? Are they engaged? Are they not? And all the things that we have in person, like the, you know, body language, visual cues, those are all gone, right? So to help address this is that we have created a synchronous online tool where you can assess your students in real time. Okay, so that they can allow you to determine knowledge gaps and keep students engaged with it. And of course, works on any mobile device. Okay, so this is one I will actually just skip right in here. Let's do a demo. Okay. All right. Okay, everyone seeing a new screen now? Thumbs up, yes, no on the chat. Okay, all right. Okay, we're gonna do something fun here. So I'm in Canvas here. I'm looking at a derivative assignment. I should actually show you how I got here. You know, when we integrate, we come in just as an assignment in Canvas. You can just click on it and you're in, and that's all that it takes for the student too. And that's fully integrated with the gradebook, the calendar, due dates, everything. The speed grader, it's all integrated in that one click. That's all it takes. Okay. I wanted to, all right, I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to create a new assignment on the fly. So I'm going to do an assignment assembly, and then I'm going to test you guys on it. Okay. All right. So in Canvas, I can create a new assignment. The only thing you need in it is you have to give it a name, right? I can do a chapter 6 review, and down here is I can say how many points is possible on this. And then you tell Canvas how you want students to turn it in, right? And the default here is actually like online, right? So we've actually tied in, so this is a new beta feature that we're rolling out, is we've tied into Canvas itself on the assignment creation. So you would just pick an external tool, and then you click this find button to go find a tool, and we will be in this list inside your Canvas course. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, and that's going to, so see I'm still in Canvas here, but now it's going to load up the derivative question bank to do this, right? So let me look at, maybe this review assignment, and I can see these questions that are already in, the derivative question bank. I can double click on it, and I can actually preview this as if I were a student, right? And then I can check answer, what will it give? What is the feedback it gives? When they exhaust it and they get a show solution, what do they get, right? I can review all of that. And then I can even regenerate it to see what are the different versions of the question that they're going to get, right? So I can review these. And then I say, if this is a question that I'd like, I just go ahead and select it. I like that one, okay? Again, so here's another question. I can preview it as a student, right? I can regenerate it to see what different versions are they going to get here, right? Maybe I'm going to see what does that look like on a mobile device? And I say, okay, I like that question too. And so I'll go ahead and select that, okay? Does that make sense? And I can go through here. I don't have to, just look in one part of Derivita. It's any section that's available. So if you're teaching a calculus course and you want to go and grab some content from pre-calculus or algebra because your students need it, yes, go do it, right? Like here on this question, I can, I'll regenerate. I'll have this one. I want to show the solution. I can see this is the feedback that the students are going to get. You see it's dynamic for the one that they're in, right? The different ways of estimating this curve. I can have it regenerate and maybe show this solution. You see it's going to be a different version of it, a different curve. Okay, I like that one too. And so I just select it. Okay, so here I've got just 4 questions. I can grab some more. Right, and so this is the fun. It's like a candy shop, right? I like this one. I'll grab that one. Okay, and oh, this is a good one too. All right, so this is an example of the 3D graphing, right, and how it works on mobile as well. I'm going to go ahead and grab let's grab a few of these because they're fun. All right, and then I go next to create my assignment. And this is where I can change the order of them if I'd like. Okay, and so we use like in Excel, we use a cut and paste metaphor. So I would come here and I'd say, cut this question, we highlight it, right, in the dotted line. I can say I want it between these two. So I click this question, I just say paste it before, I paste it after, and that reorders it. Okay, so I can just reorder my questions as I go here. This was a chapter 6 review, right? And then I create my assignment. And so I'm still in Canvas, and this URL now encapsulates all the things that I have just assembled. And I just hit select, and in Canvas, I just save this assignment. And here is my chapter 6 review. And on my question 1, there's my line, right? I can preview this as a student right here. So I see this is exactly what the students will see when they come to this assignment, right? And they see like, these are the questions that they're going to answer, right? Of course, this one isn't asking a whole lot, right? Right? You see how this goes, right? So you see, that's all it takes to create an assignment with Derivita in Canvas now. All right. Okay. All right. So, okay. So, see, Matthew, yes, a question in chat. Does it do the scoring on the questions?
Yes. How does it score? Like, is each question assumed to be equally weighted?
In the assignment, yes, it is.
So if you assign it as a 10-point assignment, it'll just take these 7 things and divide it 10 divided by 7.
Exactly.
But if I change the number of points to 70, then it'll make them 10 points each.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And that's yeah. Canvas actually, with all external tools, is that they have to send back a percentage of the student, how the student did, and then Canvas scales it to whatever the point value is inside of Canvas. Right. That's why, yeah. So you have complete control over the points possible in Canvas, and it just maps to that automatically. Okay. Now, now remember, when this has data in it, it's going to be a lot more interesting, right? So like on this assignment, I can tell how many students have started it, which questions the students were struggling with, or how long it took them to do certain questions. Maybe they got it right, but it took them a long time. So there's all sorts of things that tells you, or maybe it took them multiple times before they did get it right. So it looks like students were struggling with this question, right? And I can pull this up. You'll notice that this whole page is designed so that there is no personal information of any student. So you could actually pull this up in a classroom and share your screen and just review this with your class, online or in person, right? I mean, even like the students page here is, we get this list. You have to double click on a name to actually like go in and see how that student didn't override their scores. So it's like, we make it like you're not going to get into any protected information on accident, right? So that you can do this. So you can just review this in the class, okay? So on that assignment that I just made, right? Let's look at like this graph, this line. Let's say I had that data. I said, you guys we're struggling with it. That's okay. And this is our new synchronous tool, where I can regenerate this question while I'm talking to the class. I can have it show it. And here is where I can say, okay, now we've talked about it again. Are you guys getting it? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click SpotCheck here. And it opens up a new tab. And this is our synchronous tool. So this allows students to respond at this address. So they can type this in. I'm going to go ahead and copy this real quick. You see, I'll just hit this button to copy. I'll go over to the chat and I'll just paste it in the chat. Okay, so in the chat, go ahead and click on the link. And as you click on the link, then you see the number up here is incrementing. We know how many students or just people are looking at this question. All right. And then as you submit it, then I can see this bar is going to tell me what percentage of the students have done it or not and submitted an answer. All right, so 3 of 5, cool. And then as a teacher at any time, I can just kick over here to the results page, which just tells me today is just how many are getting it right, how many are getting it wrong, right, out of that question. So, right, again, really, really simple. And, you know, of course, we're going to be adding some other things into here, but like even at this point, this is already pretty interesting, right? Because the questions that I would need that I want to check with, those are the same questions that I assign on homeworks. Those are the things I want to assess to see if they understand it. I can do this after the assignment, ones that they struggle with, do some just-in-time instruction, then test, hey, how's this going? Some teachers using this before they assign the homework to make sure the students understand the concepts, that they're ready to take the homework, or anything in between. So Matthews, how can we use SpotCheck in a live class? Okay, so this is a new beta feature that we're doing. So basically is we want to train you on how to use it, okay? Or you're asking in a live class, not even an online class, is that right? Yeah, so in a live
face-to-face class.
Yeah, so in a face-to-face, yeah, we're talking about making this available as like a QR code so they can just snap it.
I just typed that. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Or you can just type it and it's in, and see that rs.pn, that's the full domain name for Respond. And then this code is actually going to be tied to your course. Okay, so I'll go over here and say, okay, now I looked at that. You guys did pretty good. Good job. Okay, I'm going to look at this question now. I'm going to go ahead and spot check it, and you'll notice that your browser, we automatically push that question to that open tab already. See that? So then I can see there's still 5 of you that are in the room and no one submitted it yet, right? And so I can say, go ahead and answer this one. All right, 1 to 5, we see. Oh, you know, but it's okay, right? You guys are doing good, right? And then I can just come over here. I can say, okay, that was great. You guys did that. I'm going to switch one out from underneath. Let's see, like here's like an odd function. I'll hit spot check and you see it just pushed it to your computer. And now we're reviewing this. Okay, so as you can see, it's the issue is, yeah, we got tools to be synchronous with video, but to be engaged, right? And to be engaged with math. And that's what we're doing here with SpotCheck, right? And we're leveraging the questions that you've already done the work to decide which questions are appropriate for your class. And so we're just letting you build off of that without doing more work and creating separate questions. Let's just take that question and see if it's understood real quick, really low stakes. So SpotCheck it's anonymous. As you can see here, the students, there's not a lot of pressure, not a lot of stress, right? Right, we can see how we go here. Not a lot of stress for the students. Yeah, in that anonymity, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, you know, you're getting information without it being high stakes, right? It's very low stakes to do that.
Hey, Devlin.
Yeah.
I think we're just about out of time, actually a couple minutes over. So I think we're going to have to go ahead and stop here.
That was perfect because that was it.
Good.
What timing?
Timing, excellent timing. For everybody who attended the session, I did put a couple of links there in the chat. One is for a session evaluation. If you wouldn't mind just in our break here, taking a quick second and going over there and filling out your thoughts about the session. And then also check out the scavenger hunt. We are actually doing a gift certificate, as was mentioned earlier this morning. And so jump in and try to do the scavenger hunt, which will take you to the vendor exhibit hall, where you should be able to visit with the derivative vendors and other vendors as well. So I'll leave it at that. And I just want to thank you, Devlin, for your great presentation today, and Charles for co-piloting.
Okay. Thanks, April. We're going to actually be in the exhibit hall. So if you guys have any follow-up questions, you can email us, you can chat us, or just show up in there and we can chat. So thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you. And we'll get started with the next session here in about 11 minutes at 11:25.